Get ready to dive deep. Today, we're tackling Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Oh, this one's a classic.
Yeah, and to help us unpack it all, we've got this awesome YouTube video summary. But you know us,
We're not just going to skim the surface.
right? We're going deep, unearthing those golden nuggets you can actually use.
Exactly, turning those theories into actions.
Love that. So think of this deep dive as your habit coaching session, extracting the essence of Atomic Habits.
And figuring out, okay, how do I make this work for me?
Exactly. And one of the, I think, most powerful takeaways from Atomic Habits is that whole small habits, big changes thing.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
It really challenges our assumptions about what it takes to actually transform,
Totally. We think we need these massive overhauls to see results.
Right, but Atomic Habits is saying, no, no, no. It's the tiny things, those consistent actions that really add up over time.
It's the video uses this awesome analogy, a plane taking off from New York, headed for LA.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Now, if the pilot adjusts the course by just 1 degree, you won't even notice at first.
Right.
But keep going. By the time that plane reaches the other side of the country, it's landing in a whole different city.
Whoa, that's kind of mind-blowing.
Right. It really shows how those tiny, seemingly insignificant adjustments to our daily routines can lead us to a totally different destination in life.
It's like the butterfly effect, but for habits.
Exactly. And you know what's interesting is this applies not just to positive habits, but the negative ones too.
Ooh, that's a good point. So even those small choices, the seemingly harmless ones, they can accumulate and impact us over time.
Yeah. For better or for worse.
It's like the compound effect, right?
Precisely. If we're consistently making choices that move us in the right direction.
Those little wins, they build on each other.
And lead to some pretty incredible results. But, and this is important, that same principle applies to those negative habits too.
I'm getting a little nervous now thinking about all my bad habits.
Well, think of it as a wake-up call, right? It highlights why being mindful of even those small choices, those daily decisions,
They really matter.
they matter because they're not just isolated actions, they're shaping who we are.
And the future we're creating.
Exactly. Which brings us to this idea of systems versus goals. Instead of getting obsessed over the end result, Atomic Habits says, hey, focus on building the right systems, the processes.
The how, not just the what.
Yeah. The video explains this beautifully. Goals are like the results you want, right?
I want to lose 10 pounds.
Yeah, perfect example. But the system is the how, the healthy eating habits, the exercise, the good sleep.
Ah, so it's like shifting our focus from the destination to the journey itself.
Exactly. Making sure our daily actions are aligned with who we want to be and what we want to achieve.
Okay, I'm starting to see the big picture here.
And that leads us to, I think, the heart of Atomic Habits, identity-based habits.
Oh, this is where things get really juicy.
It's not about just doing the habits, it's about becoming the type of person who naturally embodies them.
It's like instead of saying, I want to lose weight, you say, I am a healthy person.
Exactly. It's a subtle shift in language, but it represents a way deeper change in mindset.
I like that. So it's less about forcing ourselves to do things we don't enjoy and more about becoming the kind of person who enjoys doing those things naturally.
Exactly. When you identify as a healthy person, you start seeing yourself differently.
And you start making choices that align with that identity.
Right. It becomes part of who you are, not just something you're trying to do.
This is all starting to click for me. Those small habits, they compound over time, supported by the systems we build.
And it's all driven by our identity.
And that shapes the choices we make within those systems.
It's like this incredible chain reaction of self-improvement.
All right, one more piece of the puzzle I think we need to explore, the habit loop.
Okay, let's break this down. It's a 4-stage process. Cue, craving, response, reward.
All right, walk me through it.
The video uses the example of your phone, right? You feel it vibrate in your pocket. That's the cue.
Oh yeah, I know that feeling.
It triggers that craving. Who messaged me? What's going on?
Gotta check it.
Exactly. That's the response. You pick up the phone, check the message. And the reward, well, it's that feeling of connection or information or whatever it is.
And that whole loop, it just reinforces the habit, making it more likely you'll repeat it next time.
Exactly. It's like it becomes automatic.
It's kind of scary how much of what we do is just on autopilot.
But here's the good news. Understanding this loop, it gives us the power to not only build good habits, but also to break those bad ones.
Oh, that's good news indeed.
So if we want to build a good habit, we make the cue obvious, the craving attractive, the response easy, and the reward satisfying.
But to break a bad habit, we do the opposite.
Exactly. We make the cue invisible, the craving unattractive, the response difficult, and the reward, well, unsatisfying.
I'm starting to see how this works. Like if I wanted to start writing every day, I could put my notebook and pen right on my desk. That's my obvious cue.
Perfect.
And I could pick a topic I'm really excited about, making the craving attractive.
You're getting it.
Then I commit to just writing for 5 minutes, easy response,
Love it.
and the reward. Celebrating that win, even if it's small.
You've got it.
Yeah.
You're starting to think like a habit architect, designing your environment and your routines to support those changes you want.
And speaking of environment, that's another key concept from Atomic Habits.
No, absolutely. It's huge. Remember, our environment is constantly influencing our habits.
Yeah, if we're surrounded by cues that trigger those unhealthy habits,
It's an uphill battle.
but if we can design our environment to support those good habits, it's like we're setting ourselves up for success.
Exactly. Imagine trying to eat healthy, but your kitchen is full of junk food.
That's setting myself up for failure.
Right, but fill your fridge with fruits, veggies, healthy snacks. Suddenly, it's way easier to make those good choices.
It's like removing the obstacles and paving the way for those positive habits.
And that brings us to, two more really important pieces of the puzzle. Small wins and patience.
Yeah, these are big ones.
Celebrating those small wins is like fuel for our motivation.
I know, I totally thrive on those little victories.
And patience, well, that's essential for any kind of lasting change.
Yeah, but in this instant gratification world, patience can be tough.
Right. But Atomic Habits uses this brilliant analogy, the bamboo tree.
I'm intrigued.
For the first 5 years, it barely grows above ground.
Really?
But then in year 6, boom, it explodes, growing like 80 feet in just a few weeks.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like all that unseen effort was building the foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same with building habits. Those early efforts might not seem like much, but they're setting the stage for significant progress down the line.
So we need to trust the process. And remember that even when we don't see immediate results, those consistent actions are creating a ripple effect.
Leading to the transformations we're looking for.
It's about playing the long game.
And to help us get started, to overcome that initial inertia, Atomic Habits introduces this fantastic tool, the 2-minute rule.
Okay, this sounds intriguing. Break it down for me.
It's so simple. When you're starting a new habit, make it so easy that it takes less than 2 minutes to do.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it.
It's about removing any barriers to entry.
Making it so easy that you can't not take action.
Exactly. Often the hardest part is just starting. Once you're in motion, it's easier to keep going.
So instead of trying to do a 30-minute workout,
Mm-hmm.
I just commit to putting on my workout clothes.
Perfect. Or instead of writing a whole page in your journal, aim for just one sentence.
Those tiny actions, they build that sense of momentum and accomplishment.
They become those small wins that fuel our motivation to continue.
I love how practical and actionable this is. It takes the pressure off of needing to make these massive changes all at once.
It's about those tiny wins, building consistency over time.
And ultimately, that consistency is what leads to lasting change. This has been a fantastic exploration of, like, the first layer of Atomic Habits. We've covered so much ground already.
Yeah, we got those small changes, the compound effect, the power of systems and identity, and that clever habit loop.
It's a lot to digest.
It is. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll take all this knowledge.
And figure out how to apply it to really create lasting change in our lives.
Buckle up. It's going to get even more interesting from here.
I'm ready. Let's do it. So we've laid the groundwork, right? Those core principles from Atomic Habits.
We've got our foundation.
But now I'm like, okay, how do we actually use this to level up our lives?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is. And Atomic Habits really dives into this idea of identity being like the North Star of habit formation.
Oh, absolutely.
We touched on this earlier, but I think it's worth digging a little deeper.
Agreed.
So remind me, how does our identity play into all this habit stuff?
Okay, so think about this. Many of us approach self-improvement with a goal-oriented mindset.
Right, like I want to write a book or I want to learn a new language.
Exactly. But that focus on the outcome, it can actually be a trap.
A trap. How so?
It keeps us stuck on what we haven't achieved yet.
Instead of who we're becoming along the way.
Exactly. It's like this constant feeling of not enough until we reach that goal.
Oh, let's feel it.
It's like we're always chasing this future version of ourselves instead of embracing who we are right now.
That's deep.
And that's where identity comes in. It's shifting from I want to write a book to I am a writer.
It's about embodying the qualities of the person you want to be even before you see the results.
Exactly. The video uses some great examples. Think of someone trying to quit smoking.
Yeah.
If they keep saying, I'm a smoker trying to quit, they're holding on to that smoker identity.
But if they say, I'm a non-smoker, it changes everything.
Right. Their actions naturally start to align with that new identity,
It's like we're rewiring our brains to see ourselves differently.
which then changes our choices or behaviors.
And the cool thing is it creates this positive feedback loop.
Oh, totally. Each time you act in alignment with that desired identity, you reinforce that belief about yourself.
It's like every time that person chooses not to smoke, they're strengthening that non-smoker identity.
They're proving to themselves, this is who I am.
And those small wins, they add up, making it easier to resist temptation and stick to the commitment.
This is powerful stuff.
It is. But how do we actually shift our identity?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Is it just changing how we talk to ourselves?
It's a big part of it, reframing our self-talk. You know, instead of, I'm trying to be more disciplined, you say, I am a disciplined person.
Oh, like that.
But it's not just words.
Right. We have to back it up with actions.
Exactly. You got to walk the walk, James Clear calls it, proving your new identity.
With small wins, right?
Yeah, each action is like a vote for the person you want to become.
So if I want to be a morning person, I can't just say it. I have to get out of bed when the alarm goes off.
You got it. Each time you resist that snooze button, that's a vote for morning person. Yeah.
Those votes add up, and eventually you start to believe it.
This is fascinating stuff, isn't it?
It is. It makes me realize how much our habits reflect our identity. We're not just creatures of habit, we're creatures of belief.
That's a great way to put it. It really highlights how lasting change starts internally.
So we've got identity, but let's circle back to systems.
Okay, yeah.
You mentioned earlier how successful people, they don't just focus on goals, they build systems.
The systems make achieving those goals almost inevitable.
It's like setting yourself up for success.
Exactly. Goals are about the results you want, like running a marathon.
Right.
But the system is the training schedule, the diet, the recovery.
So instead of obsessing over crossing the finish line, we focus on those daily actions that get us there.
You got it. And here's a key point from the video. The systems you build, they should be tailored to you.
Not one size fits all.
Right. There's no magic formula. What works for one person might not work for another.
So we have to experiment, find what fits our goals and personality.
Exactly. Think like a scientist. Test, refine, adjust as you go.
It's not about finding the perfect system right away. It's about constantly learning and improving.
Becoming a master of your own habits, understanding the how and the why.
And speaking of understanding, let's bring back the habit loop.
Our good friend, the loop.
I want to see how identity and systems fit into those 4 stages.
All right, great. So cue, craving, response, reward, remember.
Yeah, making the cue obvious, craving attractive, response easy, reward satisfying.
Now, your identity, that shapes your cravings.
Oh, interesting.
If you see yourself as healthy, you'll crave healthy things. And your systems, they make the response easy and the reward satisfying.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say your goal is regular exercise. If you identify as someone who prioritizes fitness, you're going to crave that feeling you get from working out.
Like that post-workout high.
Exactly. But even with the craving, you still need a system to actually get to the gym.
Right, like pack my bag the night before, schedule it in my calendar,
Those steps make the response, the actual act of going to the gym, easier.
and then the reward could be something like enjoying a healthy smoothie afterwards.
Or tracking your progress, seeing those gains.
So it's like aligning your identity, your systems, and that habit loop. It all works together.
It's a powerful combo.
We're creating this framework for building lasting habits.
And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about consistency, those small improvements over time.
Which brings us back to those small wins and the 2-minute rule.
It's all connected.
Even tiny actions, like putting on your workout clothes, they build momentum.
And reinforce that desired identity.
Each action is a vote for the person you want to be.
I love that. It's amazing how these concepts all work together.
It's like a symphony of self-improvement.
I like that. A symphony of self-improvement. We should trademark that.
This has been an awesome exploration of part 2 of Atomic Habits. We've dug into identity, systems, how they connect to that habit loop, and of course those small wins, the 2-minute rule.
So much good stuff.
It is. And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore how to make these habits stick for good.
Even when life throws us curveballs.
Because we all know that's going to happen.
Oh, it definitely will.
But with the right tools and strategies, we can navigate those challenges and stay on track.
Absolutely. It's about building resilience and creating habits that truly last a lifetime.
All right, we've been on quite a journey with Atomic Habits. Small changes, compound effect, identity shifts, that habit loop.
It's a whole toolkit for self-improvement.
It is. But now I'm thinking, how do we make these changes last, for the long haul?
Ah, that's the real challenge, isn't it?
It is. Because I think we've all been there, right? We get all fired up, start a new habit,
With the best intentions,
and then life throws a wrench in the gears.
it happens to the best of us.
So what's the secret? How do we make these habits stick, even when things get tough?
Well, Atomic Habits, it gives us some answers. It really emphasizes that real behavior change, it's not just about willpower.
It's about identity.
Oh, exactly. It's becoming the type of person who just naturally does the things you want to do.
We talked about this before, but it's so important.
It is. If you see yourself as a healthy person, you're going to make healthier choices.
If you're a writer, you write.
It's like your identity becomes this driving force.
But let's be real. We're not perfect, right?
Oh, it's not.
There are going to be days we slip up, we miss a workout, eat the cookie.
It happens. We're human.
Exactly.
Ah.
So how do we bounce back from those stumbles?
Well, Atomic Habits, it's got this great strategy, the 2-day rule.
Okay, I'm listening.
Never skip a habit 2 days in a row.
Oh, I like that. It's all about maintaining that consistency.
Yeah, even when you're not feeling it.
Because missing one day, okay, it happens, but 2 days in a row,
That's when you risk breaking that habit loop.
losing that momentum.
Exactly. So if I skip my run today, I got to make sure I get back out there tomorrow.
Even if it's just a short one.
Right. It's about sending yourself that signal. This habit matters.
I'm committed.
And I think this takes the pressure off. You don't have to be perfect.
We're allowed to have those slip-ups.
It's how we respond that matters.
So it's a learning experience, not a failure.
Exactly. Ask yourself, okay, what happened? What can I do differently next time?
Maybe I need to tweak my environment, adjust my systems,
Or find a more motivating reward.
and then we get back on track. Recommit to that habit, that identity we're building.
Remember why you started in the first place.
Yeah, sometimes we need that reminder, reignite the fire.
Absolutely. And if you've totally fallen off track, don't be afraid to start small again.
Hit the reset button.
Go back to those 2-minute actions, get the ball rolling.
Those small wins, they're like magic.
They are. And, this connects with that idea of environment design,
Right, we talked about shaping our surroundings.
making it easier to do the good stuff, harder to do the bad stuff.
So like if I'm trying to eat healthy, I got to get rid of the junk food.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Replace it with healthy snacks. Make those the easy choice.
Exactly. And we can do this with all kinds of habits.
If I want to read more, put a book on my nightstand.
If you want to meditate, create a peaceful space.
It's about being intentional with our environment.
Setting ourselves up for success.
This has been an amazing deep dive into Atomic Habits. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's such a powerful framework.
It really highlights how those small actions, those tiny habits,
They can lead to some pretty remarkable results.
it's empowering. We have the power to create the future we want.
One habit at a time.
Exactly. And we don't have to wait. We can start right now.
Today's the day.
So ask yourself, what small habit will you start, stop, or change to become the person you want to be?
Make that choice. Take action.
Even a tiny step can make a world of difference. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Atomic Habits.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of self-improvement. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making those atomic changes.